Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're diving deep, really deep, into some thought-provoking ideas about building a life of, true prosperity.
Prosperity, yeah.
And to guide us, we're turning to excerpts you've all shared from James Allen's Eight Pillars of Prosperity.
And let me tell you, this isn't your typical get-rich-quick kind of book.
Right, it's definitely not one of those.
What I find fascinating about Allen's work is that he goes beyond just, the surface level, that superficial idea of financial success. He digs deeper, dives into the character traits, those inner qualities that he believes are the real foundation of a truly prosperous life.
Okay,
And by prosperous, he's not just talking about, having a fat wallet.
right.
He's talking about a life of well-being, of genuine happiness, a life that's rich in every sense of the word.
It's like he's saying, forget those flashy shortcuts, those life hack promises. True prosperity, real prosperity, it starts from within.
Exactly. And to illustrate this, he lays out what he calls the 8 pillars of character.
Eight pillars.
These pillars, think of them as the architectural supports, the foundation
I like that, yeah.
for building a strong and unshakable life.
Okay, so a blueprint for success that's based on who you are at your core,
Yes, absolutely.
not just on, the outward stuff, the things you achieve.
Precisely.
I love it. All right, so let's unpack the first pillar here, energy.
Okay.
And we're not just talking about, guzzling down another espresso to power through your day.
No, not at all.
Alan's talking about a much deeper kind of energy, that inner drive, that
Mhm.
force behind, all of our achievements, big or small.
He's talking about that potent combination of physical energy, of course,
Right.
but also mental and even, moral energy.
He uses a really interesting analogy in the book.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he suggests that just like, an object, when it's just sitting around not being used, that starts to decay.
Right, right.
He says our minds work the same way. An idle mind, it loses its sharpness.
It's like that
Yeah.
saying, use it or lose it, right?
Exactly. So it's about constantly exercising those mental muscles, seeking out challenges, and stretching ourselves.
It's about having that growth mindset, always pushing those boundaries.
Yeah, and he even uses the analogy of like, someone who's already up and tackling their day, they're making things happen,
Right.
while someone else is still hitting the snooze button, still asleep.
Oh, I know which one I am.
Me too. But it's more than just like physically getting out of bed earlier.
Right, it's deeper than that.
It's about having that proactive energy, that get it done mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But not just in like, our work or our to-do lists, but in all areas of life.
In our relationships, in our personal growth, even in our moral compass,
Yeah, that's a good point.
It takes energy to actively choose kindness,
Yeah,
to stand up for what's right, even when it's difficult.
it does.
And that actually leads beautifully into the next pillar, which is, as Alan puts it, economy.
Economy.
Now, when you hear the word economy, you probably think about money, right?
Finances, yeah.
Budgets, all that.
Right, makes sense.
But Alan, he takes a much broader view.
Okay.
He encourages us to think about how we use all of our resources,
Okay.
not just our money, but our time, our energy,
Our energy, right?
even our nature time.
Yeah.
How are we investing those precious resources?
That's interesting, yeah.
He talks about finding a balance, a sort of,
A middle ground.
yes, a middle ground. He uses the example of clothing, actually.
Clothing, okay.
He says it's about finding that sweet spot between, and I quote, careless attire
Okay.
and wasteful extravagance.
Hmm.
It's not about being cheap, not at all.
Right, right.
It's about making conscious choices that align with your values, with who you are.
So it's about investing in quality, I guess, over quantity, right?
Exactly.
And maybe choosing experiences, travel or learning something new
Yes.
over like just accumulating a bunch of stuff
It's about aligning your spending, your consumption with your priorities.
with what truly matters, yeah.
Precisely. It's like, it's about asking yourself, is this purchase really adding value to my life? Is it contributing to my well-being?
That's a great question.
Or am I just caught up in that endless cycle of consumerism?
That's something I think we all struggle with, honestly.
Oh, absolutely. We're bombarded with messages,
Mhm.
telling us to buy more, do more, be more.
So true, yeah.
But Alan's message, it's about tuning out that noise and really, really examining what truly matters to us.
Love that. All right, so we've got energy, we've got economy, and get ready for this next one.
Okay.
It's a big one. Integrity.
Ah, integrity.
And Alan doesn't sugarcoat it.
No.
He comes right out and says that true prosperity, lasting prosperity, it requires unwavering moral strength,
Wow.
He even goes as far as to compare, we get this, a dishonest businessman to a thief.
Oh, wow. Okay, he doesn't hold back.
Not at all. But what's really interesting is how he connects dishonesty to an unsustainable business model.
What do you mean?
Well, he's basically saying that just like a thief takes without giving back, a business built on deception, on, taking advantage of people,
Right.
it's going to eventually crumble. It can't last.
It's like building a house on sand.
Right, exactly. So it's about recognizing that true success, the kind that lasts, it has to be built on a foundation of ethical behavior.
A foundation of integrity.
Exactly. It's like that old saying, what goes around comes around. But Alan really digs into the why behind it,
He does, yeah.
He challenges us to examine our own lives, our own choices, and ask ourselves, are there areas where we might be, maybe even unintentionally, compromising our integrity?
Even in small ways.
Yeah, even in those subtle ways, those little compromises we make.
And those small compromises, they can have a ripple effect, can't they?
They do.
They erode trust, they damage relationships, and ultimately, they hinder our own personal growth.
Yeah, that's a sobering thought.
It is, isn't it? But it's also empowering, don't you think?
How
Because it means we have the power to choose differently, to act with integrity, even when it's hard, even when no one's watching.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And, that actually ties in beautifully with the next pillar, which is all about systems.
Systems.
Yes, systems. Alan believes that having systems in place is crucial for creating a life of order, of efficiency, of purpose.
Okay, this is interesting. So how does he illustrate this idea of systems?
He uses some really interesting examples, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he compares a well-structured life to a bird's nest.
A bird's nest.
Yes. He says, think about it. A bird's nest, it's strong, it's sturdy, it can withstand the elements, even though it's made of, seemingly fragile materials.
That's true, yeah.
And that's because of its intelligent design, because of the inherent system within its structure.
I see.
And then he goes on to talk about systems that we often take for granted, like the alphabet, for example.
The alphabet.
Or the number system.
Okay.
These are foundational systems that allow us to communicate, to organize complex information, to build, to create.
We really do take those for granted.
We do. Imagine a world without those systems. It would be pure chaos.
Oh, absolute chaos.
Yeah.
So is he saying that these systems, they translate directly to, like, our personal lives?
Absolutely. He talks about how, for example, a business without a clear organizational structure, without communication protocols, without even a filing system, it would be utter chaos.
Right, nothing would get done.
Exactly. So implementing systems is not about being rigid or inflexible.
Okay.
It's about creating a framework for greater efficiency, for greater productivity.
I like that, yeah.
It's about bringing a sense of order to the potential chaos of life.
So for those of you listening, think about your own life. Would you consider yourself a systematic thinker? Do you thrive on routines, on having things organized? Or are you more of a go-with-the-flow type of person?
There's no right or wrong answer, of course.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to examine what systems, whether big or small, bring a sense of order and control to your days, to your life.
I think that's a great place to maybe pause for now.
Yeah, let's take a break.
And when we come back, we'll delve into the next pillar.
Sounds good.
It's almost like having those systems in place. It frees up mental space to actually focus on, the things that really matter.
It's like having a solid foundation so you can build higher.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of constantly worrying about the ground crumbling beneath you.
Exactly. Okay, so moving on now to a bit more of a more heart-centered pillar, we come to sympathy.
Sympathy, yes.
And again, Alan's not talking about, just surface-level sentimentality here.
He's not talking about just feeling sorry for someone. He's talking about something much deeper.
Yeah, he really distinguishes between, like, feeling pity for someone and truly empathizing with their experience.
He wants us to understand where they're coming from, to walk a mile in their shoes, as the saying goes.
Yeah, and he quotes Emerson in this section, who speaks about loving, and I love this quote, thy wood chopper.
Thy wood chopper, okay.
Yeah, and not just, those who are geographically distant or people we perceive as being, less fortunate than us.
So it's about cultivating that genuine compassion in our everyday lives.
Exactly, those everyday encounters.
The barista making our coffee.
Exactly, the person bagging our groceries.
Right. Are we treating them with the same level of respect and consideration that we would, someone we admire?
It's a powerful question to ask ourselves, for sure.
It really makes you think about how you're showing up in the world, doesn't it?
It does, it does. And Alan, he even uses the example of Balzac, the writer, who actually he immersed himself in the lives of the poor.
He did.
Yeah, to really understand their experiences, their struggles, and then he, channeled those experiences into his writing.
That's that's really something to put himself in their shoes like that.
Yeah, it's a testament to the power of empathy,
Yeah.
the ability to step outside of our own limited perspective and connect with the humanity in others.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about, seeing ourselves in each other.
All right, so we've got sympathy, and now for a pillar that I think is often talked about, but maybe not always fully embodied,
And that is,
sincerity.
sincerity, the big one.
Right. And this one really hit home for me because Alan, he argues that sincerity is like it's the bedrock of a healthy society.
Okay, I could see that.
Without that foundation of honesty and genuineness,
Things start to fall apart.
exactly, trust erodes, relationships crumble. It's like the glue that holds everything together just dissolves.
And we've all experienced that feeling, right? When someone's being insincere, even if we can't quite put our finger on it.
It's like you can just sense it, you know?
Mhm, like a bad taste in your mouth.
Exactly. And Alan, he uses this powerful example from Shakespeare.
Shakespeare.
Yeah, from the play Timon of Athens. And Timon, he's this generous, wealthy man who's ultimately driven to despair
Driven to despair. By what?
by losing faith in humanity, by losing faith in people's sincerity.
Oh, wow. So it's like a cautionary tale.
Exactly. It shows how destructive distrust and deception can be, not just for individuals, but for society as a whole.
Right. If we
Yeah.
can't trust each other, what do we have?
Exactly. It's a scary thought, and Alan even goes on to say that we can often sense insincerity, even if we can't always articulate why.
Interesting.
Yeah, he suggests that true charisma, true magnetism, it comes from, and I love this phrase, a soundness of mind and wholeness of heart.
A soundness of mind and wholeness of heart. I like that.
Right, and that's something that you only find in people who are genuinely sincere.
It's not something you can fake.
Exactly. It's not about, putting on airs or trying to impress anyone. It's about showing up authentically as your true self in all your interactions.
It's about being real, warts and all.
Yes, and I think that's something that people can really sense. They can feel that authenticity.
Oh, absolutely. People can spot a phony a mile away.
Right. So for those of you listening, I'm curious, how much do you value sincerity, both in yourself and in the people that you surround yourself with?
It's a question we should all ask ourselves because it's easy to say that sincerity is important, but do our actions always align with that belief?
That's the real test, isn't it?
It is. It is. And, speaking of aligning our actions with our beliefs, that leads us beautifully into the next pillar, impartiality.
Impartiality.
Yes, and this one's all about shedding those preconceived notions, those biases that we all carry around.
Oh, I need to work on this one.
We all do. It's human nature, but Alan paints a really vivid picture here.
What's that?
He suggests that a person who is truly impartial, they experience life as a pleasant walk, not an obstacle course.
Wow, I love that analogy.
Right. It's like they can navigate the world with more ease, with more clarity, because they're not constantly tripping over their own biases.
That's so true.
And he goes on to argue that an impartial mind, it's free from personal prejudice,
Okay.
which allows for a much clearer, a more objective perception of reality.
So it's about being able to see things as they truly are.
Exactly. He talks about the true thinker, someone who can consider all sides of an issue, all perspectives, without letting their own opinions cloud their judgment.
That's a rare quality.
It is, and it takes practice.
For sure. I know I often catch myself, getting stuck in my own head, seeing the world through my own limited lens.
We all do it. It's part of being human.
Right.
But the key is to be aware of those moments, to catch ourselves when we're slipping into those biased patterns.
And then what can we do once we've recognized those biases?
Well, that's where the work comes in.
Right.
It's about consciously choosing to broaden our perspective, to step outside of our comfort zones.
So to challenge those ingrained ways of thinking.
Exactly. To question our assumptions, to be open to new information, even if it challenges our deeply held beliefs.
It's like that saying, travel broadens the mind, but in this case, it's about expanding our mental horizons rather than just our physical ones, right?
Exactly. And that, my friend, leads us beautifully into our final pillar, self-reliance.
Self-reliance, okay. Self-reliance, right. So not about going all off the grid.
Yeah, no, not necessarily. It's not about rejecting help or trying to do everything solo. It's more about, well, cultivating that inner strength.
Okay.
standing on your own 2 feet, having that solid foundation of your own values.
So like being comfortable in your own skin, trusting your own judgment.
Exactly. And it's interesting, Ellen, he actually quotes Buddha in this section, who emphasizes that balance
Oh, balance between what?
between trusting yourself, your intuition, but also staying open to learning to new perspectives.
So not being afraid to ask for help when you need it.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that true strength comes from within, but also having that humility to know that you don't have all the answers.
I like that, yeah. It's less about I can do everything myself and more about I trust myself to navigate the challenges, to figure things out.
Exactly. And to embrace those challenges, because that's how we grow, right?
Right, right. It's like that empowering feeling, when you realize, hey, I can handle this.
Even if it's messy, even if you don't have it all figured out.
Yeah, and I think that ties back to, what we were saying about systems. Having those structures in place can give you that confidence, that foundation to rely on.
Absolutely. It's all interconnected, isn't it?
It is. And, as we wrap up here and we've gone through all 8 of these pillars, it really strikes me that they're not meant to be these isolated, ideals.
Right. They're not separate entities.
They're all interwoven, interconnected, and Alan really beautifully shows how they work together.
Like pieces of a puzzle.
Exactly, to create this holistic vision of what it means to live a truly prosperous life.
A life of purpose, of integrity, of deep, deep inner fulfillment.
And it's so easy to get caught up, I know I do, in that pursuit of, more, more, more.
More money, more stuff, more status.
Exactly. But Alan reminds us that true fulfillment, it doesn't come from chasing those external things. It comes from something much deeper.
It's about aligning our actions with our values, with who we truly are at our core.
It's about building a life on solid ground, a life that can weather any storm.
And that, my friend, is the essence of true prosperity.
I love it. Well, on that note, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, wouldn't you say?
We have. We've really delved deep into Alan's wisdom.
We have, and I for one feel incredibly inspired, and I hope our listeners do too.
Me too. It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
Likewise. And to everyone listening, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into James Allen's 8 Pillars of Prosperity.
Yes, thank you for being here.
We hope you found it, insightful, thought-provoking, and maybe even a little bit challenging.
Because it's in those challenges that we often find the greatest growth.
So true, so true. So until next time, keep those minds curious, keep exploring these ideas, and keep striving for that true and lasting prosperity.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. It would be a great source of help to maintain and develop this channel and the correlated website. This book overview was presented to you by olbooksummary.com. Are you interested in more insights into personal development books or motivational and inspirational books? Please visit olbooksummary.com and you will find a library of the most helpful self-development and human character development books overviews. See you soon with the next books overview video.